Hi friends, it's Diana here today, and today we're going to be working on the My Way Kids color block hoodie. I am super excited about this hoodie. I love that we have all the different size charts for kids, so you can pick one that fits your child the best, and I'm excited to sew this up. There's a few different options on this pattern for the color blocking. I'm going to be doing the side color block with the front overlay pocket, and I'm doing a hood, and I'm doing the color block sleeves as well to show you how all that works. But really, if you're doing the other color blocking, you would just be adding that extra piece. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to tell you is when you are doing a color blocked hoodie or top or whatever it is, you need to make sure that you are aware of how you're cutting your fabric. Because of the fact that we're making the front is not on the fold or anything like that, you have to make sure that you cut your fabric with your patterns facing the right way, your pattern piece facing the right way. So if you've got your pattern piece facing up, it's going to look exactly like the one I'm making and the ones in the pictures. If you have your pattern piece facing down, it's going to be the opposite because it's going to be on the other side. But if you cut your fronts, any of your color blocking of your fronts of your sleeve, if you're cutting it face up, you need to make sure that you cut all the patterns face up, all the pattern pieces on the color block top face up. Or if you're ended up putting it face down for some reason, you need to make sure they're all face down, because if you do one facing a different way, it's going to be mirrored, so it's not going to fit quite right. So that's the first thing with color blocked. Cutting out your pattern. Now, the second thing is, once you cut out your pattern, especially with these sleeves, because they are very similar, these little piece patterns, make sure that you clip your pattern piece to your pieces. That way, when you go to sew and the pattern instructions say, put letter D with letter E or whatever you're doing, you have that guide. The letters are on there, and it's easy for you to see and visualize it instead of trying to figure out, oh my goodness, which one was A, which one was B, whatever. Okay. Another thing I like to do is I always like to put my pattern, lay my pattern out, my fabric once I've got it cut out, and kind of give myself a picture of what it's going to look like once it's finished. So then that way when I start sewing, I kind of already have this mental picture, and it's easier when you get to color blocking. Those are just a couple tips. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I already said that. So first thing we're going to do is I'm gonna put aside all these other things, and we're gonna start color blocking the front. All right, so I'm doing this color block, the one that's got the one side and the front, the D and E. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my one side and I'm gonna flip it right on top, right sides together, and we're going to sew that raw edge with your preferred stretch stitch. All right, so once you have sewn that, I had issues with my one serger, so I had to, I don't know if you saw, I had to kind of go over it with my other serger again, which is no fun, but it's okay. You can go ahead and steam that seam, and if you want to go ahead and top stitch it from the outside so it has like that nice top stitch finish, you can go ahead and do that. And we're going to put this aside. So our front bodice is coming together. Okay, and I'm going to grab my overlay pocket. I'm using the overlay pocket with this one, and so I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to grab my pattern piece. I'm going to lay it on top, and I'm going to mark where my pockets are going to go. So I'm going to have my markings right here. That's where the pocket placement's going to go. That's, you know, the opening of the pocket. Once I do that, I'm going to grab that outer edge. That's the outer edge. Here's the arm size back here. So this is the front, and I'm going to fold that 1/2 inch and steam it. All right, now what we're going to do is right here where I placed my marks, you see them right here, that's going to get top stitched first, because the rest of this is going to get top stitched to your bodice. With the fold is going to get top stitched. You're going to stop right there where you top stitched already, and then top stitch starting again on the other edge. So consider that when you're sewing, when you're top stitching this edge right here, if you want it to match, make sure that you start it and end it nicely so that when you go to top stitch the rest of your bodice, it can match. and whatnot. So I'm just gonna go over to my cover stitch, and I'm gonna cover stitch from this dot to this dot, and then this will be ready and prepped to then the next step will be to grab our bodice front. I want to show you now so you kind of can see what I'm talking about. We're going to grab our bodice front, and I'm going to grab my overlay pocket. I'm going to place it right on top of my bodice, and I'm going to pin it with this folded down, my half an inch seam allowance right here, fold it down, and I'm going to top stitch down all the way till I get to that pocket where I have my markings and I top stitched already. I'll stop there, start at the end, pick up, and go all the way down. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go top stitch this little piece, then I'm going to put this on top together, and then I'm going to top stitch from here to here, and then our front will be basically ready. Make sure you line up those outer edges, and then I'm going to fold in, and I'm gonna obviously use pins on this and then top stitch it. Alright, our bodice front is done. Here's our pocket area. On these outer edges, you could baste them right now. I'm just gonna pin them together because you're gonna use those as one piece. They're gonna be together when you sew them on. They're gonna stay as one piece. So I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna start doing our sleeves. Alright, so I've got my main sleeve pieces, and I'm putting them right side up here on my mat. This is the color block sleeve K, and I'm going to place the color block sleeve J. Okay, first we go with J. I'll grab that and place it right above it, and I marked my back and my front. So see how the two little notches here, that's my back, and the pin clip is my back as well. So that's how I matched it. So now that they're together, I'm going to fold it right over like so, and start from the outer edge, right sides together, clipping onto the raw edge. And you're kind of gonna have to like kind of turn it a little bit so that it goes along the curved edge. Then we'll go over to our preferred stretch stitch and sew that on. We're gonna do the same for the other one. Alright, now that's done, and we're gonna press that seam towards the bottom of the sleeve. And if you want to, you can go and top stitch that down, and for the look that you desire, it is up to you. Now we're going to repeat the same thing with the next section, which is I, and then K, sorry, JK, JK. I, and then K, and it's the same exact thing. Actually, this is the right side. We're gonna place it right on top and start those facing those raw edges together, sew it up, and then come back, steam it, and do the same for the last one, which will be H. Alright, now I'm going to put my back bodice up, and I've got my front bodice. I'm going to lay it right sides together, and we're going to match those shoulder seams. Sew up the shoulder seams together. Now remember where the pocket overlay is, you're going to have that pocket there, and you're going to have the pocket and the sleeve. So you got to make sure, if you think that that's going to fly out on you or like move down or whatever when you're trying to sew it, you can baste that together first. Okay? Now we're going to open our bodice and our arm side right here. Remember, your pocket and your bodice count as one. So you got to make sure that that's when you're going to attach your sleeves, you got to make sure that it's going to pull both of those down. And then we're going to find the top of our sleeve, keeping in mind which one's your back and which one's your front. And then I'm going to attach it by marking the front and then placing it on there, right sides together. Going to one side and then to the other. I'm going to do that for both sleeves. Once our sleeves are on, we're going to fold it right sides together, and we're going to sew up that side seam, making sure that you place all these seams together so that they all match up. So you have some nice color blocking there. I'm not the best at that, but you want to put one of the seams going one way and kind of fix them up so that they fit together, and so that they're nice and even. If you're going to be hemming the sleeve, you may want to do a memory crease right now before you sew. You won't sew it up, but it'll just be a crease that will stay there for later to make it easier to sew up. And this side seam, the one with the pocket, remember that you are treating the pocket and the front of the hoodie as one thing. While we're at it, I'm also going to prep my hood. I'm going to grab my outers and my liners, and I'm going to place them right sides together and sew around the crown. Okay, now our sides are sewn together. I'm going to put that aside for a minute. I'm going to grab the hoods and I'm going to lay one inside the other, right sides together. And then I'm going to grab right here at the crown, the top of the head, and I'm going to match them up right sides together, and we're going to sew around the whole face, the front of the face. Now while I'm at it, I'm also going to go ahead and prep my armbands by folding them right sides together and sewing that raw edge together. And also my waistband by sewing those two raw edges right sides together. Alright, so we're going to grab our hood. I'm going to turn it right side out. Once we turn our hood right side out, we're going to give that a steam right here at the raw edges. And sometimes I like to top stitch it around the edge. Sometimes I don't. It really is up to you what you want to do. Now we're going to start attaching everything and we'll be done. So I'm going to grab my bodice and I'm actually going to turn it wrong side out because I'm going to match them right sides together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my back and I'm going to find the back of my back. I'm going to grab those shoulders and I'm going to go to the back and mark my back. And do the same for the front. Mark my front. And then you can go ahead and mark your sides as well. Well, your sides are your shoulders on this one. On mine it is. And on our hood, we already have our back marked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to insert that hood to our neck area, placing it right sides together, starting at the back bodice, right at that spot right there. And then we're just kind of going to fit it along. We're not stretching or anything yet, all the way to our shoulder. I'm going to fit it inside there. Now I've got these two overlaps coming up right here. So we're just going to stretch just slightly towards the front, just the hood, not the bodice, just slightly, not a whole lot, so that it kind of wraps around right here where the front notch is. We kind of go past it a little bit because we're going to come with the other one and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to come a little bit past it as well so that they overlap. Now, honestly, depending on how like wide you want your neck or, you know, like how tight, some kids like it their hoods not to be tight around their neck. Not, I don't mean tight, but like snug at all. Some like a little bit snugger. It really is. You can baste it on first and see how it fits right here, how much overlap you want. And you can give it a little bit extra overlap or less. I didn't really stretch a whole lot, just a little bit. Then we're gonna go sew that on and we'll be done with the hood. But we're gonna do the same with our cuffs and our band. So we're just gonna half our band, our cuff, mark our half. Grab your cuff, fold it wrong sides together. Just fold it wrong sides together. You're gonna match up those seams and then you're gonna go to and mark your half. Then I'm gonna fit it right into my sleeve. You want the right sides to be touching. The right side of the cuff touching the right side of the sleeve. Mark those raw edges. So we can go ahead and kind of sew both of those things at the same time as the hood and then also the waistband. If you like to do like one at a time, you can do one at a time, come back, do the next one. I find that with clips, it's so easy to just go ahead and prep everything at the same time and then go sew it. So that's why I like to do it this way, but that is really up to you. For the band, we want to mark our front and back. And remember that pocket, that overlay pocket, you're gonna have to catch it in the band. So make sure that you're attaching it to the band as well. We're gonna grab our band and we're gonna fold it wrong sides together, just like we did our cuffs. Then match the front and back and go to the, well, those are actually the sides, and go to the front and then to the back. And then we're gonna tuck that in as well. And match up those quarters and then go sew. Okay, right here at the front, you want to make sure that you keep that overlap. If you're worried about it, I would top stitch it first, like with a straight, like long straight stitch first, so that it won't come apart when you're trying to sew it. I am so bad, I just kind of go for it. Alrighty friends, we are finished with this sew. And though it looks really kind of a little bit scary, it really wasn't that scary at all. I love color blocking because it's like you're putting a puzzle together. I know I say this every time I color block something, but it's like you're putting a puzzle together and then you get to see it all together and you're like, wow, I really like how that turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss any of our tutorials. Go get your pattern, go sew it up, and then come share with us on Facebook or Instagram so we can see what you're making. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!